Hello, everyone, and welcome to Zelda Speedruns. We have today the first restream of the Zelda 2 Randomizer Standard Tournament 2021. We have a match here between BKT Patrick and traiLZ of Group E. With me on commentary is Elendar. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. I'm very excited for what's going to be a great month of races, I'm sure.
Yeah, should be a fun one. We have ourselves here the Groups 2 flag set, which means that they start with a candle, and we do have mixed enemies.
Yep, mixed enemies always leads to some interesting overworlds early. There, some of the tiles in the west can be heavy on small enemies and turn into a big mess, but add some more variety. It's always a fun flag to play.
Mhm. Patrick, a fairly new runner who's mostly been on the restream, the tracking side of race streams, hasn't actually been on the restream as a runner yet. But traiLZ, of course, an absolute veteran of the randomizer. We'll see how this goes.
Yep, I haven't looked through all of the brackets, but certainly traiLZ is not a player you're looking to see and be real happy about. So it looks like we've got Big Swamp, Early Connector, and we are in Fairy Town.
Yep, we're right next to start, nice and convenient. Fairy's always good to get early.
Yep, I think it's going to change how some of them level probably, just because Fairy tends to be a little bit uncastable early, and you definitely want to be able to actually afford it.
Yeah, we'll have to see how much it costs for them at Magic 1 here. I know nothing. Okay. Oh yeah, right. Bets, predictions. Thank you. As we see that the price of Fairy is 112. Yeah, that's not affordable for the moment, unsurprisingly.
Yep. Oftentimes, if your early spells aren't very good, you're just trying to get attack in life early. But interesting, traiLZ taking a quick trip to the east and immediately turns around at a sizable swamp.
Oh, that was a bridge to the east. It's often not obvious. Oh yeah, that's just me being a scatterbrain.
I don't think anyone wants to even think about crossing that. Not yet.
Oh, GP right by start. Okay. This does look to be fairly open. I'm not sure yet what biome it is, but this isn't particularly mountainous, at least. I think it might just be vanilla-like.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way. There's an easy pass through between the north and the south. Probably just a lot of early exploration. Oh, that might be a river off to the west. Hard to say.
Alright. I am aware Patrick's audio is a bit quiet, but on the other hand, traiLZ doesn't have usable audio, so we're going with the quiet audio. Right, okay. Alright, starting a quick prediction as to who will win. Since we are just barely starting. Magic jar there for Patrick, not bad.
Especially, looks like Magic 2 Fairy goes down to 52, so no problem.
Alright, and predictions going. And Maze Island here for traiLZ.
Looks like both players so far just going with the take the cheapest level up I can get. It's helpful to not die, especially with some of these packs you can get if you do early Maze Island or East.
Yep, P2 there on the southern coast for Patrick. I completely missed what Rudo has. And it's P3 or 6 here, a dark purplish color on the southeast corner.
Looks like it's the spell, so probably not going to be back for that unless it gets pretty desperate.
Oh yeah, traiLZ is definitely the more experienced runner here, but we never know. Rando could rando. Perhaps everyone's favorite phrase in the world. I have absolutely no idea how Patrick is as a runner, so we'll find out today.
Yeah, I've also not seen him race, but having seen traiLZ race a number of times, I'm always impressed by how clean his combat is as he absolutely destroys that tire up against the wall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and both Maze Island and the East very, very accessible today, which is fairly unusual. Necros being nice for a change, they tend to not be. And the Hammer in Maze Island for trails. I missed what the first item was in Maze Island. Looked like it might have been another heart container. Or a heart container, correction.
Looks like at Magic 3, Fairy goes down to 32, which is actually a really big deal, because that means he has 2 casts per life, is going to make dungeons a lot more passable, and I think it's probably a pretty high likelihood he dips in here.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's P4. I don't think he is.
Yeah,
it would be if it was something that wasn't P4, but I don't think he wants to do P4 without Reflect.
Yeah, without some kind of hint for a required item inside, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, and there is a raft tile there in Maze Island on the eastern edge, on the western edge, sorry, so that could be a connector to Death Mountain, potentially.
Yeah, with the Hammer, early Death Mountain play is a little bit more appealing.
Yep. There's the magic jar for trails that Patrick found earlier. Oof, and that's a game over for Patrick.
Thankfully, the west seems pretty open and pretty connected, so it's not going to take him too long to get back to where he was.
No. Yeah, the west looks just to be vanilla-like. Nothing particularly fancy about this one.
Oh, it looks like he's going to show us what's going on in the east, and it looks like it's just more swamp.
Well, okay, that might be a canyon west. It's a little harder to tell right now.
Yeah, I think both players are nearing the end of what's explorable in the west, and I think you might see both players taking a trip out to the east here, and oh boy, it's nasty.
Yeah, this east is ugly. You start off with the ginormous swamp. Yeah, and I agree that Patrick needs to get his attack up, which is a little tricky. Oh, don't take life 3 when you're 10 points off attack from there. Ouch. Yep, you have to go through this faster apparently to go anywhere else in the east because the boots are also missing. trail's deciding that, hey, maybe I want to take a dive into P2 here.
Nice convenient extra life up on the ledge. Especially when you're reliant on Fairy to navigate around. If you get a really maze-like dungeon, extra lives can sometimes be a huge difference just in terms of the extra magic.
Oof, and that would have been a game over for Patrick, so who just decides, yeah, I'm just going to save the cutscene in up A, understandably.
Yep. I think he's going to probably take a trip straight back to the east and, well, maybe he's changing his mind. There's certainly a lot better item density in the east compared to dipping into the dungeons here, but obviously any dungeon you can complete is a good dungeon, and the east is a bit scary.
Mm-hmm. Especially on low attack levels, and Patrick would like a little bit higher than, attack 1.
Yeah, for sure. Attack 1 makes a lot of the enemies in the east more or less unkillable without spending a whole lot of time.
Mm-hmm. And on traiLZ's side, we have found ourselves a Helmet Head.
Yeah, Helmet Head on attack 2 is going to take some time, and he seems like a really easy boss normally, but yep, there's the death. Especially on low attack, his patterns can get pretty tricky once both helmets are out if you have to hit him, 10 or 12 times.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, they're not getting dash today because that's behind the medicine.
No, but
Middle-
I like this play, picking up down stab if you're having some trouble with combat.
Oh, I agree. It's also just nice to have, especially for a newer runner like Patrick. traiLZ can do just about everything without down stab, but although there are some down stab blocks I think he might have some trouble with, but other than that, he can do just about everything without.
Yeah, normally the cost to going in and picking up down stab early is that you're going to have to potentially double dip and just take a whole bunch of time walking all the way up there. But especially if you don't need the spell from it, you're probably going to want to have picked up down stab at some point to the seat anyway. Might as well make it early so you can get a lot of combat advantage from it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with V4, there's what seems like a lot higher density of up and down stab rooms in P7, and it's quite scary to go in without one or the other, not knowing if you could potentially be blocked at any time.
Mm-hmm.
traiLZ taking a reset, going back again with having to cast Fairy in each of these rooms. The prospects of continuing on versus taking a reset change quite a bit. This is where potentially if Patrick finds an any key somewhere, could be saving a whole bunch of time on coming into these dungeons, not having to reset for keys.
Mm-hmm. Patrick here in one of the item caves on the west. We'll see what's in it.
Oh, the boots.
Ooh, those are going to make the west a fair bit easier because that giant lake in the middle is making things a little bit unfortunate. Might make the east a slight bit less horrid as well.
Yeah, that's a really big find.
Oh hey, we have a mini-boss here in P2 that's fairly unusual. Or said mini-boss in that. I think I know this is... Or is this... Yeah. I had to double check to make sure I wasn't just looking at a P1, but no, this is definitely still P2. Well, it's the cross. Well. It's the cross.
Nice to pick up, but not what you're really looking for. You're really hoping to find progression item.
Yeah, that's just kind of a really game. And now traiLZ is dipping into this. I'm not sure what exactly this shade of purple is called. Lavender?
Yeah, that seems about right. It's got nice square bricks, certainly helps for lining stuff up.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty shade, actually. Sometimes the randomizer can give you a fairly ugly shade of purple, but this one's pretty nice.
Yeah. And also,
Burgundy, yeah.
As I say, out west, Patrick has found the any key. So
it is very nice.
Couple of really nice items, yeah.
Yeah, it can conserve fairy for the more difficult platforming rooms instead of using it all on the key doors. So this will be P2 for Patrick on attack 3. Helmet Head, we'll see how bad Helmet Head is on attack 3 for Patrick. Ah, the mystical concept every computer wants from you. You're not wrong, Silver Streams, you're not wrong. So I haven't figured out what Palos traiLZ is in because P3 and 6 are quite difficult to tell apart.
Yeah. At a certain point, if you haven't seen a window, you can sort of think, well, it's been enough rooms that it's probably P6 instead of P3 just from the size, but this early with this set of rooms, really no way to tell until you stumble into a boss or find a room with windows.
Yep. Nope, the key drop is not bad. traiLZ will pick that up. And, well, hi. I think we know this is P3 now.
Yep. traiLZ working on the long process of defeating Revenak without downstab.
Yep. And helmet head for Patrick, who takes an immediate death because due to being on low health. Let's see how this goes. Oof. That's for Patrick. traiLZ has placed the gem in G3. Oh, traiLZ's Time Lord, grumpy face. That's unusual. Let me see if I can hit a refresh on his stream. He's just currently looking for the item in P3. I think Patrick decided to bail out of P2 until he can get a couple more attack levels, maybe. Or just more levels generally.
Yep, it's a reasonable decision. I mean, he knows where he can come back. It's not too long of a trip to get back there, and being able to come in there, you know, later on when you've got a whole lot more attack levels can just make it worlds faster.
Yep. Making good use of those boots to avoid having to walk all the way north to get over to the southwest part of the continent.
Yep. And this should be, yep, this is another item cave. We'll see what's in it.
And it's got a heart container in it. Well, we'll turn that down.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of the items in the west were off in this west side of the west across the river, so not the most obvious places, but now that Patrick has boots, he should be able to find all of them pretty quickly.
Yeah, basically this west looks to be a ginormous upside down U. So, and you can either take the boots to get around, go west to find a magic jar. Gee, thanks, game! Very useful hint.
It's traditional. Always right after you find the thing. It's even worse if it's a magic jar or a heart container hint, because you're not actually sure if it was the correct one or not.
And it also doesn't matter a whole lot anyway.
Yeah. Occasionally it could be relevant for magic containers if the item in New Kasuto is relevant, but it's like, well, I don't want to look there, but also I kind of want it.
Sorry, in the northwestern part of things, kind of up in the upper left end of the U. Yeah, this is just kind of an ugly map layout. Don't think this is a canyon, this is just a fairly miserable map layout, but it's not fun.
Yeah. Still not entirely sure which biome this is, but it's ugly.
Yeah, it's just a giant U around the map with an upside down U around the map. Oh, there's the medicine. Well, I mean, you're there, I guess. Mito's not too far from here, and Dash is nice quality of life, even if you don't need it.
Yeah. One of the things I've always wanted to see in a seed that I've only seen in practice once is with the dash spell, you can actually make it across the moat with both dash and jump spell. And while it's never required for the randomizer, it can lead to some pretty neat sequence breaks, but it's such a rare occurrence that I've always rooted for it. It never seems to come up.
Mm-hmm. And actually, there's like a bridge of, like, just a whole ridge across the river too that you can't, and that separates the north and south bits too, which is annoying. It's kind of a generally unfun map today in the West. But that's pretty typical for Z2Rs. Usually the maps aren't the nicest. It's more of a matter of how not nice the map is. It's definitely not one of our mountainous biomes, and it's not islands, that's obvious enough, so I think it's just vanilla-like.
Yeah, I think it's just vanilla-like with some unfortunately positioned lakes.
I think so, yeah.
What would be nice to find up here, and it's still possible, is there's one more connector cave, and I think both players would be excited to potentially find an alternative way into the east that doesn't lead into a giant swamp.
Yeah, the giant swamp is not the most appealing thing either runner have seen. There's another magic jar on Stonehenge here. The two of them almost sync, but they've done different amounts of exploration. And found different things. I am unsure why both of them are buffering.
And with that, Patrick has found everything in the west, so it's going to be a question of head to the east or head back into a dungeon.
And back into a dungeon, apparently. This is P6, but I have no idea where this actually is.
Oh, this is actually in the east. Now that Patrick has those boots, he was able to cut straight across the river instead of going through the swamp. Boots
nice.
continuing to pay off.
Oh yeah. Trails also recently picked them up, so that's going to make Trails' life easier as well. Because when you have as much water as this seed has, you want those boots. You don't want to take bridges and pass-throughs and everything everywhere.
It looks like Trails has taken a trip through the old giant swamp.
Yeah, this swamp's enormous. And ooh, Glove in P6, pretty accessible there for Patrick, is a good find.
That's a really big find potentially.
We'll see, yeah, in Standard it's very, very rare to not get a required glove.
The big question is how many glove blocks in the earlier dungeons are there, and looks like Trails has also found 6, so
The east looks a lot like the west. There's a ginormous lake down the middle and land on either side. I'm not sure if this one's a canyon yet. The west isn't a canyon, the east might be. It's hard to tell right now. Also, River Devil to Nowhere, as per the usual in 4.0.
yeah, it's not a surefire sign that the blue isn't required, but definitely reduces the odds.
Mm. A Zelda 2 remake would be pretty cool, but unfortunately at least for many people, just Z2 has ended up turning out to be so different from the rest of the series, and it seems it's not the most popular of games. So I don't know how much interest there would be in a Z2 remake. I myself have been playing through the Skyward Sword HD remake. It's been a lot the last couple days. I am getting miserably lost in it. Pretty much true blind playthrough. I know a bit of the story, but none of the game. It's been pretty fun.
Yeah, there are a number of people who have made interesting ROM hacks of Z2 that aren't obviously quite full remakes, but a number of the custom rooms that got added in 4.0 for Randomizer are from the developers of those games. It's always good to see new stuff getting added.
Oh, absolutely. And this is Zelda 2 Random. We are pretty fond of the odd duck out of the series. Here's Barbara, reasonably accessible for Patrick. You go down, you go right. Well, I think you need to take a left at the start, and then you go down and right, and you're here. Yeah, also known as Volvagia, it's called Barba in the English version of Z2 due to a translation goof somewhere.
Yeah, the Japanese name for Volvagia is quite a bit different and also a bit long when romanized, and I think they sort of just did a best effort attempt to shorten it.
And yes, I do always love these outside arenas for Barba.
I definitely love anytime we get to have these outside rooms. They're a very nice change of pace.
Trill's finding the garden, or a garden in any case. Not necessarily the garden room for the vanilla game, but it is one of the gardens. I think there's a couple of community garden rooms now as well. Dragons being outside makes sense to me. It's a good thing that Barba doesn't fly any higher even with the open rooms, because that would be an actual pain.
Yeah, the best part of open air Barba is when it's down like 3 or 4 floors. Surprise, the dungeon was actually at a cliff.
Yeah, Volvagia is pretty cool in OT. Charles has also found the glove and is also on Barba. Barba's not the most difficult of fights, it's just long on lower attack levels.
Yeah, and it looks like he definitely rolled a pretty high HP.
Yeah, and attack 4 is noticeably making a dent for traiLZ. Who does take it out? Okay, Patrick taking the good choice of taking attack 4 there. Won't get a lot of experience out of this gem, unfortunately. But there's not much to be done about it. I think, gonna go see if there's something in the next room here that can, get him that, 75 experience. And there it is, nice. Gonna make full use of this, get attack 4, magic 4, and life 5. That's not bad. Like, enemies have been fairly alright with experience. Like Patrick mentioned, to find an enemy that dropped 150 experience, which isn't always that common.
Yeah, I think that's a 2-up for the Blue Knights. I'm not entirely sure. But Yeah, with the P bags not being great, I think there's a 500 in the large pool, but other than that, they're pretty small. It's definitely nice to have dungeon enemies that give a lot.
I think Barba's fine. It's just that they're on a bit lower attack levels. Like Trolls got through. Like Trolls is doing decent damage on attack 4. Like about what I'd expect out of attack 4, honestly. Well, it looks like this poor corner of the east just had P6 and in the river duffel to nowhere. That's it. Thanks, game. Back to the swamp.
It was showing some promise that the boots might have opened it up a bit, and now it's like, nope, you're getting funneled into this corridor.
Yeah, this also just looks like vanilla-like with all the paths going north-south, and some of it's not quite a true river. It doesn't look like. I think it's just nice pass through from traiLZ side to that's Death Mountain, but it's a useless connector. Also, that's the raft tiles, so that means that the raft tile goes from the east to Maze Island, so Death Mountain must have a second connector cave that's not a dead end. Because that's useless, that cave here, because that goes to nowhere. You can't even use boots, that's just a dead end. Well, I guess you can go from here, but do you really want to go from here? Not particularly. You'd rather find a place with a bit more caves open than a singular connector, as traiLZ is in Nukasudo, finding a 1-up. And I did not catch what spell was here, but traiLZ doesn't want it.
Yeah, it's the life spell in 7 magic containers, so not the greatest of Nukasudos.
No. Admittedly, we might not necessarily need to dig up Death Mountain. We've already gotten most of the items we need. It basically depends where Thunder is at this point. If Thunder's behind, or if that flute's required for 3-eyed rock that traiLZ is walking past right now, since we Thunder or Reflect, because one of those two could be in Darunia.
Yeah, and with the spells they found so far, it's looking likely. Oh.
Nope.
Nope.
They are fine. So yeah, they're set on items as we see Reflect in a brew.
The only potentially required item now is the flute.
In case 3-eyed rock is required. I can't remember I think whether or not it exists is random. I don't remember if what's underneath it is random to be a palace or something else.
Yeah, it's I think it's 50-50 for it to show up, and then it's random what's underneath it, so it can be it could potentially be one of the remaining the one remaining spell town, I suppose, at this point, or it could potentially be the second dungeon in the east, or it could be a P-bag cave or something.
Mm-hmm. Patrick is going to pick up Upstab. Good choice. traiLZ knows how to do the Upstab skip, but it's always good to pick it up. And there is one community room where you are hard required to get Upstab because you can't get around with the skip due to the room layout.
Yeah. Also, I find Upstab is just really useful for defending yourself from bird knights. GP can be very scary sometimes. I'm always happy to have any help I could get, especially if it's potentially required.
Mm-hmm. That's an impressively useless and isolated section of the East here. After Patrick is of very limited use. Because Raftile is not super accessible in Maze Island, so you either get to walk through Maze Island or you get to walk through the swamp. I would probably take the swamp.
Yeah, it might end up being a little bit useful just to save some time later depending on the dungeon routing, but definitely not required this time.
Not at all. traiLZ has picked up all the spells he needs. We have found... You've only found one palace in the east, between Palace 1 and Palace 5. One is in the Valley of Death, the other is out there someplace, possibly on Three-Eyed Rock. So... traiLZ is in potential and go mode at this point. Patrick is picking up the last couple spells he needs. Getting Reflect here. It's basically dungeon clear mode at this point for both.
Yep. Outside of the fear of that potential loot block, it'll be interesting to see how much both our runners decide to dig it out.
I do think we've seen the East pretty thoroughly from both, so I think it probably is a palace underneath that rock. We've seen all 4 towns, and we've seen multiple of the items. I think we saw the desert tile, we definitely saw the water tile. We've seen the pasture caves. I think that probably is a palace underneath Three-Eyed Rock, which does mean that we need the flute, wherever that is. I haven't seen a hint for the flute as far as I can tell, so that's gonna be fun to find.
Yeah, at this point the options are Death Mountain, dungeons, and either 7 magic containers or the spell for New Casino, none of which are spots that I think anyone's happy to check, but...
No, neither of them check the trophy hint either, so we don't know where to get the spell either. Because the spell's in Rudo.
Yeah.
Yeah, Patrick's stream is dropping a little bit. Not too bad, but it just has dropped once or twice, I think. Key4's Bubblegum Bink today for traiLZ. And oh hi, mini boss Rebo, which is glitched. Nice Karok sprite that's kind of half glitchy. This happens sometimes in 4.0 with mini bosses. You get glitchy sprites. I was taking a death there to mini boss. Patrick is over in this part of the east that's an absolutely isolated dead end. Yeah, Rebanek riding Karok is a fairly odd sight for traiLZ, who takes another death. Ouch. I wonder if the unusual sprite's tripping him up a bit. Or if he's just having a bit of a rough time. I think he's just having a bit of a rough time, but this should do it, yeah.
I appreciate traiLZ aggressively casting Fairy in the room with the double Moas. Maybe my least favorite of the new rooms. Definitely very, very easy to take a lava bath.
Yes, indeed. Patrick, with another couple levels on him, is going to come back and beat P2. Might as well since he's here. And here's Garrock for traiLZ. I think that was intentional to get his magic back. Which does... Alright, that is P4 done for traiLZ. I am going to do a couple stream refreshes since we've been having a couple delay issues and lag. You will also want to refresh your comms page, Elendar. Should hopefully sort it out. traiLZ is actually looking for the item here in P4, it looks like. Probably knows that he needs that flute and wants to find it.
Yeah, the real question is if either of our runners find the trophy before they find the flute, will they decide it's worth it to go on the fetch quest?
Hmm.
Especially now that both runners have picked up a 7th magic container.
Oh, I don't think the answer was in P4 there for traiLZ.
Yeah, traiLZ picking up the hammer. Unfortunately, another fetch quest item. Giving us more questions than answers.
Yep.
Oh, it looks like traiLZ picked up the flute somewhere. I must have missed.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that was the...
Maybe that was the P4 item, right? I think
Yeah.
I might have just scatterbrained it. Okay, yeah. Thank you, Royale. Which, the other question is, how are we actually getting to this Valley of Death? I'm not quite sure where the upper end of this is, because it's in a bit of an awkward spot here in the western side of the continent. Nice jackhammer for Patrick, gets Rebo down.
Yeah, it looks like there's a bit of a pass through north and west from where traiLZ is, but hard to say exactly. You can definitely have some windy palaces of death, or death valleys.
Mm-hmm.
Could be especially bad if you need a specific pass through to get into the area where the entrance is.
Yeah. Patrick isn't all that far from a level and is trying to pick it up. Having not a lot of luck, unfortunately. None of these enemies are dropping much experience. Yeah, there we go. That'll be life 6, and I think attack 5 is next after that. Backtrack a couple rooms, and that'll be P3 done for Patrick. And, yeah, traiLZ is here in... I managed to miss which palace this is, but yeah, it was flute locked. So, Patrick will need the flute out of P4 to go to P1. Thank you, chat.
And it looks like a quick boss here in P1.
Yeah, very quick. I am unsure where Patrick's going. Nothing really over here. He's beating all the palaces on the west. As traiLZ finishes P1. Taking Magic 6. And let's see how those one get to this Valley of Death, because it's not the most obvious route, I don't think. It's a little convoluted. I don't actually quite remember where the entrance is, just it's a little out of the way. Going to get upstep though, so I guess he's on the way there. traiLZ doesn't usually need upstep, but he's also just walking right past the Runia, and you never know, so might as well.
Yeah, definitely. If it's a quick trip, it's a different story. If it's, you know, all the way on the other end of the continent, or if you've got like a Maze Island GP and it's like, man, this is a long trip, do I risk it or not?
Mm-hmm. Hey Clem, welcome in. We have ourselves a fairly nothing especially interesting seed. It's just going, honestly. Vanilla-like maps on both west and east, making for quite a bit of walking, but nothing super unusual. traiLZ is currently trying to find the way to Valley of Death, which is not being all that intuitive, unfortunately, today. I'm not actually sure where it is, it's just not intuitive. I don't think we've seen parts of the Valley of Death, just not the actual entrance to it yet.
Yeah, and the worst thing is that the parts that we've seen are in the center, and so really the entrance could be anywhere.
Yep. Ah, there it is for traiLZ. Yeah, that's just a little bit annoying to get to. It's in the middle of nowhere, basically. Nice fairy feet. Yep, traiLZ going to the bare minimum spells. Well, I mean, a lot of the optional spells were the ones locked behind the spell items, so it's not like traiLZ could have gotten said optional spells anyway. Alright, time for P5. Actually, I really like this reddish purple here.
Yeah, it's a nice color, good contrast. Little unfortunate floor tiles with the horizontal and vertical spacing to make it difficult to tell where you are.
Yeah, I think it's called parquet, is a little rough to tell sometimes. Actual colors, though, is pretty nice, and here's Guma very quickly. Nice save from Patrick here in P4.
Another appearance from the Rebo Shark.
Yep. This Gooma's being really tanky for traiLZ, even on attack 5. This is a really tanky Gooma. Taking several hits without a noticeable change in the health bar. Yeah, this is a really tanky one. He's landed like 6 or 7 hits. There's finally 1 bar down, but that is not an easy first bar. I think traiLZ definitely, I think Gooma rolled up today. Oh, and that's a game over. Time to restart.
Thankfully, wasn't too long of a trek from the beginning of the dungeon, so should be back at it pretty soon.
And there we go. Gooma's down for traiLZ. Took a little while and a few tries, but that is traiLZ's final gem. He'll be off to GP. Yeah, here's a question for Patrick. It's whether or not he stays around for the item, because that flute's required in here for P1. As traiLZ enters GP. Because the thing is, too, I'm not sure if Patrick realizes that flute is required on this seed. It's not always obvious at times if it is.
Yeah,
he is continuing, though.
Yeah, it's especially because when you're playing the seed, and you find something like a hammer block where you definitely need the item. It's one thing, but like there's always that concern in the back of your mind. Is it actually in the 3-eye rock, or did I just miss something somewhere? Am I spending a bunch of time looking for an item that I potentially don't need, or?
Because we've definitely seen that before too, where a runner mistakenly goes hunting for an item they don't actually need and end up wasting a load of time because of it. Alright, let's see how bad this GP is for traiLZ. Rather red, white, and blue, well, kind of. A little slightly orangey red, but kind of reminds me of, various colors of various flags.
It's a nice festive layout, especially this red with the blue contrast from the bots is very, very bright primary colorsy look with the black in the background.
It actually looks quite nice. Sometimes it can be a bit much, but this one looks pretty well. Waffles and syrup room here.
I've not heard that name before. I love it.
Don't remember who came up with it. It's not mine, but it's syrup because there's lava, which does appear kind of orangey. Oof, traiLZ walked right into that enemy and took a death.
Yeah, especially with mixed enemies, these waffle rooms can be anywhere on the spectrum from relatively easy to hair-pullingly frustrating.
Especially with these ones, the waffle and syrup ones, you run into the risk of falling into the lava because, unlike the more typical waffle ones. Hammer for Patrick is of basically no use at all. Yeah, and also, hey Sparkles, GG's. We actually had another. This is actually the second race of the tournament. Chukulan and Sparkles just finished up their race not too long ago. GG's. Clement chat saying, hack, thanks for the reminder, forgot to put my maple syrup away after supper. Lol. Jill's in one of these odd rooms. I think I've heard someone call them middle finger rooms, which I don't really prefer, but here's Thunderbird in any case. Deck 5 should be too bad for traiLZ. And yeah, I am unsure why Patrick's stream just quit completely. He's back. Alright, thank you for the reminder of VXR refreshing the stream now. He should be back shortly. Currently, I think is on a bit of a palace/flute hunt. That is a bit dumb, yeah, Animus 101. And here's Darkling for traiLZ. This will be GG's here. Yeah, GB pretty reasonable today. Nothing particularly unusual, just And there we go, GG's traiLZ 5720. He will be joining us for an interview in a minute. And we'll see how Patrick does with the rest of the seed. Unfortunately, I don't think he found the flute, so he is not going to be finishing anytime too quickly. Yeah, sub-hour is always very nice for C2R. Patrick did find Shaltho, which gets him Shield Spell, which will be nice to help with deaths, but fortunately isn't the required item. And hey, Trails in the chat, man. GG's with the thanks for the tier 1 sub. Still waiting on you to join the waiting room so I can drag you in. I think Patrick is searching for that final palace. Unfortunately, it's under 3 Red Rock, and he left his flute behind in P4. So I think it's gonna take Patrick a lot, unfortunately, to get back there.
Yeah, I don't think it's often that you decide to go back and revisit a dungeon, especially a dungeon like 4, without grabbing whatever else you can first.
Mm-hmm. And walking past the Red Rock now, hopefully he realizes soon that that one's gotta be a palace. Let's see, and finally Trails is later, and we'll tow him in. Hey Trails, GG's.
Hey, thank you. How's it going?
Not bad, you?
I'm doing okay. I kind of messed up that Guma fight at the end, and I got bodied by Barba, but other than that, I'm doing pretty good. My head is ringing after that spiked ball blasted me in the face. But other than that, lost a couple teeth, but
Yeah, it wasn't too bad to see it, honestly, just fairly typical.
yeah, it was pretty straightforward, to be honest. I mean, like, I saw the three-eyed rock, I didn't see another palace, so I was like, shit, man, I guess I'll go do P4 because I reflect now, and well, there was the flute, you know. Otherwise it would have been Death Mountain, you know, or something along those lines, you know.
And the only Death Mountain connector we found would lead to a singular cave, so that would have been a really fun dig.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, with the boots, it might not have been too bad once you like got into like a bigger area. Maybe, I don't know. Thank God it wasn't that. But I mean, I had the hammer. I don't know, this overworld. I never found Raru. I'm guessing jump spell maybe.
Naburu, I know.
No, not Naburu. Raru, the first town. Oh, it's fairy spell. I did find fairy spell. Was it Saria? I didn't find. I didn't find. Yeah,
Sorry, it was in
Saria.
the far northwest. Yeah, you never quite got there.
Yeah, that's what it was. I remember I was missing a free spell, and I was like, man, I know that's jump, and I wish I had it, but I guess it didn't matter. That GP was pretty nice.
Yeah, JP was pretty decent, but yeah, sorry it was somewhere in the west. Maybe not so far northwest, but just in the western part of the continent. Kind of out in the middle of nowhere particular, because today's map was a little annoying. There were giant lakes on both continents that made life a bit annoying.
Yeah, I agree. Man, oh, he doesn't have the whistle, and he completed Palace 4.
Yeah, that's his biggest problem at the moment.
He'll find it soon. I mean, I guess he's dug everything else. He's got the raft at least, so he can get over there fast.
A little
But-
rough though. He's been playing pretty well. Newer runner though, but he's been doing pretty alright with the seed, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, where he's at right now, he's doing pretty dang good. You know?
Yeah, this was also just generally a kinder seed. Here's Guma. We'll see how this goes. Attack 5 Guma was really tanky. Definitely rolled up on health.
Yeah. I didn't have shield or life spell, so it was 3-hit KO. I don't know if I had the same life level as he does. Yeah, I did. That just took like 2.5 bars off him, like right off the break. So yeah, he's got the life spell. He should be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a I don't know. I felt like this was a pretty nice seed. I tried to go speed run strats against Goom and it blew up in my face. Other than that, I took that hug from Barba.
Yeah, and then you got hit in GP there by that one enemy.
Oh yeah, the rope. Out of all the things to kill me, the friggin' rope. That's like, it just sits there. It wasn't even moving. I walked into it. You know?
I was like, traiLZ. Why did he decide to that of all things? He just walked into it.
Yeah. One of the guys in the tournament, Kuane, was when I was in GP, was complaining about how many deaths he had, and then as soon as he said that, I walked right into that and died. And I said, "Stop complaining about your deaths. I just got took out by a rope, okay? And I gotta walk this whole room now." You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It's like, because you just walked right into it, you didn't even try to avoid it. It's like,
Yeah, I
oh,
mean,
traiLZ.
I tried to go for the attack, but I feel like that my input got eaten or something. I don't know. Maybe I tried to jump and press B, but B just didn't happen.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It was kind of funny though.
I'm not really. Yeah, it was pretty funny. I was, well, at that stage of the race, it's kind of terrifying when it's you're in GP, and I mean, I probably shouldn't, I don't know. I don't care who I'm racing. Like, I don't know who this guy is. He could be better than, everybody. And it's the first time I've ever raced him, but I don't care who it is. It could be anybody. And if I'm in GP, I'm worried if I take a death like that. I was worried after the game over to Guma. I took the ball right to the mouth, and I paused it before I could even go through the game over animation and just up and aid, and I was like, alright. Thank goodness it was just a couple rooms in.
Yeah, if you had to go for a hike, that would have cost you a good couple minutes.
Yeah, that would have been terrible. But I don't know, man. The whistle on 4, I want to say 4 rolled down in size, because there was 2 paths that you could take. The up path was immediately to or it took you to Karok, and then the other path basically took you right to the flute. There were some dead ends along the way, but it was a pretty small Palace 4 considering the size of Palace 4 usually, so I was really happy with my performance at the very beginning of the game. Down Stablis Rebo, and I triple hitted the horse on the way out as the horse was walking off the screen. I don't know if you caught that. But I knocked him off the horse, and I just started wailing away at the horse as he was walking off the screen. For no reason at all.
Yeah, down Stablis Revo on low life, especially low life, low attack early can be very scary. I think you executed it very well.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, I almost took a death during that fight. At the very end of it, I had like 1 hit left, but I clutched it out. but yeah, the item hunt in 5 would have been fruitless. I'm guessing maybe a heart container or a pea bag or something like that.
Probably, yeah. We've seen just about everything else. Never saw the trophy. It's one of the few things you haven't seen.
I remember I dug the item out of Palace 2 and it was the cross. So he's gonna be upset with this. I don't think it was too bad to find though.
No, I don't think it was.
But as far as exploration goes and completion, I got everything on on the west except for the medicine. I knew the medicine was in Trophy Cave, so I wasn't really interested in the dash spell, so.
Yeah, and the item placements by and large were okay. Flute was the one troll really today.
Yeah, it wasn't really even that big of a deal, and like it basically paved the road for you to just go right over to P4 after getting that reflected spell, realizing that there was no other palace there, but there was a three-eyed rock. I think I'm not mistaken with these flags. Three-eyed rock can be anything, so sometimes you'll see it, and there'll still be 2 palaces because it can even be the entrance to Maze Island, I think.
Yeah,
which is kind of trolly.
It can be any of the exits from the east. I've seen it be water tile before.
Yeah, but
so you open it up and you still can't get it.
Yeah. You know what? I might be wrong. I might Yeah, like desert tile, water tile. It can be a Wilson encounter, one of those Wilson fences, but I don't think it can be like a Death Mountain pass through. It can probably be like a raft tile, maybe. Nah, I don't think it could even be a raft tile. It's probably it can be a one way. It can be a town. It can be any of the Peabag caves. It can be a bridge tile. It can be the desert or the water tile. It can be a palace, which is kind of trolly because I did a seed earlier where Darunia was underneath of it, and the GP was upstab blocked.
Oof.
So you had to get the whistle to unlock Darunia, and most of the time I skipped upstab, but it was a there have been a lot of upstab blocks recently, like even in the small GPs, so I've just been without jump. I'm not even going to take that chance. I'm just going to go ahead and get it. And like the most upstab block rooms I've seen in a row, 3. They can duplicate themselves, so there's not like if you see one upstab block like that, that's not the only room. Like there could be more of them, and I've seen them back to back. And I've also seen the fairy rooms back to back too. Which palace? Oh, he's in Palace 3, right? And that's what this looks like.
Yeah, that's 3.
So yeah, I mean, there's fairy rooms from Palace 5 that people do the eco key. Where you jump up and take the damage boost up, so you don't have to cast fairy. I've had a couple. I think I've had 2 of them in a row, which I found kind of odd. But the fact that it can just duplicate any room, so even trying to do the upstab skip is kind of like, well, how many of these am I gonna do? Because they do cost time, and lately I've been getting them pretty good and pretty fast for the most part, but if you run into a few of them and that are required, then that's kind of not really worth it. Plus there's that whole that one that's kind of like a zigzag, and that you can't do that skip on, so.
No, the zigzag's a troll because you need downstab or upstab to get through it depending on which direction you're coming from.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know, from the top down, what did it look like? Just 2 people playing a seed, and I think sub-hour for the very first race of the tournament is a good way to kick it off. Sub-hour is not easy by any means, even on the seeds that are pretty free. Like, I don't know. This is still, no matter what the seed is, it's still in my opinion, a good time to get.
Yeah,
Yes.
sub hour is always impressive, regardless of what the seed is.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, he's getting close. The next palace up. Here we go. Palace 4. Let's get it.
Yep.
And it's right by start. Hey, I'm gonna let you guys go finish off doing a thing, man. I'm just gonna like sit back and take an aspirin after that mouthful of spiked ball I got.
No worries, traiLZ. GG's, and good luck on your other group matches.
All right, thank you. See ya.
Let's see it. Yeah, so Patrick's just still looking for that flute. Wash it down with some water, hopefully. Yeah, so that's let's see. With this still ongoing, I think we might go over and actually raid Patrick to watch him finish out this seed unless you have any objections, Elendar.
Nope, I'm good.
Yep, so any final thoughts here? I know you're in this tournament yourself. Any idea when your first match will be?
Wednesday at 9 is going to be our
Right.
first match against... I forget who in my group I signed up for.
Homer J Smash.
Thank you. Apologies, Homer. But I think this is gonna be a great tournament. There's a lot of new players who have gotten very good very fast, and I don't think any of the matches are gonna be safe.
No, it's going to be a tricky one. You can see the challenge there. So the structure of the tournament this year, which we hadn't actually mentioned, Bipsies. We have 28 players. There's 2 placeholders for 2 of the groups, since it's 5 groups of 5, double elimination. So the top 2 players in each group will move on to the main bracket. We'll also have a secondary bracket, the Nibiru Invitational, for the 16 for this 16, yeah, people who don't make brackets. So that'll be double. So main brackets will be double elim. The secondary bracket will be single elimination. And then so we'll have all of that coming up. Plenty of matches to be had, plenty of races to be had. Group E has traiLZ, Patrick, and also Chroma and Niram should be a pretty good one. So there's going to be some interesting matches in this tournament. Looking forward to it. Our next match will actually be tomorrow. Currently scheduled is tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern. Cross Product versus Jay Cooper. We'll see if that one gets a restream. Depends on if we get the volunteers for it. And then we've got Victor Sanofi versus Chukunan. That'll be Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And then, of course, as mentioned, Elendar here versus Homer, Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. And then with more matches to be scheduled as people find the time. Coming up on the ZSR schedule, we have tonight in a little under 3 hours at midnight Eastern, the Majora's Mask Randomizer Season 2 Tournament Qualifier number 8. Proper tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, we have the Minish Cap Randomizer Variety Tournament Season 3. Swiss Round 2, SGD Sean versus Light Dark Horse, and then at 8 p.m. Eastern, an ALTTP, a Link to the Past Randomizer Cross Keys tourney between Swiss Round 3 match between Jax Raffi and Nardi Rolsh V. And then to wrap up the night, as mentioned, Cross Product versus Jay Cooper at 10 p.m. Eastern. Give our runners here a follow, PKT, Patrick, and traiLZ. Also shoutouts to my co-comment Elendar, and to our 2 trackers, Cheeseburger Party and Rail with Cheese. But that will be it for us tonight. We're gonna go over and wish Patrick luck on the rest of his seed. Thanks for watching, everyone, and have a good night.